It's me, Bussy, and welcome back to Hot or Rat. Can you believe it? We're already back in the Netherlands, less than 1 year after the first season of Drag Race Holland premiered. Girl Miss Envy Peru barely snatched her crown, and there's already 10 new queens chasing after her to claim it. Nonetheless, I am excited for this season. The cast looks amazing. So today we're going to be reviewing the premiere of Drag Race Holland Season 2 and tackling the tough question presented during the episode. Do trans queens have an unfair advantage on RuPaul's Drag Race? One of those contestants seems to think so. But before we get into that, let's firstly discuss some of the general changes that they've made to the franchise. Firstly, by the grace of God herself, they made the decision to get rid of the Christmas tinsel that was plaguing the workroom and main stage of this franchise. They sent her right back to Party City where she belongs. And our queens are competing for 15,000 euros this time around instead of that dress. And finally, the change that they've made thus far, Fred has one of the best drag glow-ups that I have ever witnessed. But as you all know, with every set of hots, there also must be some rots, and that's just on Newton's third law of drag. The thing that really killed me in the first season of Drag Race Holland was that RuPaul kept making these little pop-up green screen cameos to announce workroom challenges in runway categories.
Category is, who's your queen?
Unfortunately, that is also happening in this season. This time with RuPaul blasting off, I guess, through space? Like, girl, what is that? I just feel like it kind of cheapens the production and discounts Fred's authority. And another thing that's a little bit of a rot is that the casting seems strangely nepotistic. There are 5 queens out of the 10 in this season, all from the same drag house. But I truly don't know if that's because the drag scene is so small that almost every queen is related to another queen somehow, or if it's because certain queens are shaking hands behind closed doors. But don't get me wrong, those are small gripes. This cast is super talented, and the premiere gave us a lot. Entrances, a talent show, and a runway. And I'll be hitting on the highlights from those at the end of this video, but first, let's get into the thick of today's video topic. When I sat down to watch this premiere, I was super thrilled to learn a trans woman had been cast on this season. Her name is Vanessa van Cartier, and she turns out to be one of Envy Peru's drag mothers. But the last thing I expected was to be confronted with the rather stale narrative that trans queens have some kind of unfair advantage over cis male queens on RuPaul's Drag Race. And interestingly, this storyline was being spearheaded by a queen named Tabitha, who, as it turns out, is the other drag mother of Envy Peru. Tabitha's main assertion concerning Vanessa and her transness on Drag Race is that her being there is not really fair because she has what she says is a head start when getting into drag.
Ik vergelijk het altijd zo. Het is net of ik in het zwembad sta. Ik wil de 100 meter vrije slag gaan doen. Kijk, naast mijn Aquaman staat.
But why are we in 2021 still trying to assert the idea that transness and Drag Race are incompatible? Probably because Mother Ru herself reinforced this argument back in 2018 in an interview she did with The Guardian. Let's revisit that, shall we? And buckle up, because it's a bumpy ride. So in that interview, Ru was being asked a series of questions concerning Peppermint, transness, Drag Race, and drag in general. It went something like this. Interviewer: if transgender women must be identified as female, how can they also be men dressing up as women? RuPaul: well, I don't like to call drag wearing women's clothes. If you look around this room, and he gestures around the hotel lobby, she's wearing a shirt with jeans. We are wearing clothes that are hyper-feminine that represent our culture's synthetic idea of femininity. Interviewer: would RuPaul allow a biological woman to compete on the show? RuPaul: drag loses its sense of danger and its sense of irony once it's not men doing it, because at its core it's a social statement and a big F you to male-dominated culture. Interviewer: so how can a transgender woman be a drag queen? RuPaul: that's an interesting area. Peppermint didn't get breast implants until after she left our show. She was identifying as a woman, but she hadn't really transitioned. Interviewer: would RuPaul accept a contestant who had transitioned? RuPaul: probably not. You can identify as a woman and say you're transitioning, but it changes once you start changing your body. Oof. And before we go any further here, I do want to quickly clarify my stance. Personally, I believe all drag is valid. That includes kings, queens, and non-binary royalty in between. And I also want to assert that transness cannot and should not ever be measured based on the amount of physical change that someone has undergone with their body. Now, back to that interview. Needless to say, this rocked the drag community's boats. And the next day, alumni from the show were sounding off on Twitter left and right. Gunn tweeted: although I do feel the separation from being a drag queen and now a trans woman, there should not be any reason to be not accepted when it comes to the art of drag. You should be judged based on your art, not your gender identity. Sasha Velour tweeted: my drag was born in a community full of trans women, trans men, and gender non-conforming folks doing drag. That's the real world of drag, like it or not. And Peppermint tweeted a series of emojis with frowny faces, sad faces, and a zipper face. RuPaul saw all of this happening and then doubled down on Twitter the next day. He tweeted: you can take performance-enhancing drugs and still be an athlete, just not in the Olympics. Later, he seemingly realized his mistakes and tweeted this. In the 10 years we've been casting Drag Race, the only thing we've ever screened for is charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, and that will never change. Which wasn't exactly an apology, but was apparently an attempt to smooth things over. With one problem. Attached to that tweet was a picture of the train's flag. You heard me right. The train's flag. Not the trans flag, but a digital image of an artwork by Ellsworth Kelly called The Train Landscape. Most regrettable RuPaul tweets for 500, please. And the next day, RuPaul tweeted this. Each morning I pray to set aside everything I think I know, so I may have an open mind and a new experience. I understand and regret the hurt I have caused. The trans community are heroes of our shared LGBTQ movement. You are my teachers. And following all this, we have seen the return of trans queens from the franchise, including Gunn on All Stars 4 and Kylie Sonique Love on All Stars 6. So has RuPaul changed his mind about trans people doing drag? I don't know, but at least the show is making efforts to be more inclusive today. And my point of rehashing the story is not to paint RuPaul as some big bad transphobic meanie, but rather to point out that if all of that had never happened, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion right now. Because while watching this premiere, I couldn't help but notice Tabitha's analogy of Vanessa being an aqua person in a swim race was strikingly similar to RuPaul's tweet about doing performance-enhancing drugs and competing in the Olympics. And I've already told you my general opinion on drag, but I think the problem is that statement was never actually walked back by Ru. And the question in some people's minds remains, do trans people have some sort of unfair advantage over cis male or even non-binary queens in the competition? So let's try to reason through and definitively answer that question. The reasoning of Tabitha's argument, as given in the show, is that Vanessa does not have to shave, put on a breastplate, or as Keta Minaj adds in a confessional, tuck. Let's say shaving might take 10 minutes. Tucking might take 5, and sliding your head through a breastplate might take all of, 60 seconds? But to be generous to the Rus and Tabithas, let's go ahead and round that up to an even 20, because let's say our fictional trans queen here also has something like lip injections that make applying makeup easier. So sure, maybe a trans queen can save 20 minutes getting into drag, but the advantage ends there. Because 20 minutes saved putting on drag is not going to make any queen, regardless of gender, a better seamstress in a design challenge, more fashionable on the runway, funnier in Snatch Game, a better singer for song remixes, a better performer in a lip sync, a better actor in acting challenges. You get my point. The crazy thing is that Drag Race actually already does an excellent job of leveling the playing field, in their sense, ironically making it the perfect place for queens of all genders to compete. And it never has been a competition that examines presented femininity as the qualifier of who should and shouldn't progress to the next round. And I'd also like to point out that these arguments completely fall apart when you look at who's actually competing on RuPaul's Drag Race. There are plenty of cis male or non-binary queens that have these unfair advantages described by the Rus and Tabithas. Many of these queens laser their faces to avoid shaving, shave their eyebrows to avoid gluing them down, get lip injections, don't wear breastplates at all. And I'd also like to flip this argument onto people like Ru and Tabitha who have bald heads. Is it not an unfair advantage that they can just slip their wigs right on, with room for plenty of wigs underneath, when a trans woman might have a full head of hair that she has to stuff under that very same wig? Point being, prep time and prep steps do not a good drag queen make. At the end of the day, the only thing that people at home care about is charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. And those qualities have no gender. What is it that Ru always says? You're born naked and the rest is drag? So I can confidently say, no. Trans queens do not have an unfair advantage when competing on RuPaul's Drag Race. But I do have a little conspiracy theory for you all. I suspect this topic was actually brought up to spark discussion exactly like we're having here on this video. Remember what I said earlier about Tabitha and Vanessa being co-drag mothers of Envy Peru? Like, they're friends, sisters, in the same drag family. It doesn't make any sense that Tabitha would be discrediting Vanessa's drag on a national platform. Unless, of course, they saw an opportunity to develop a storyline and create some drama. Because storylines and drama mean what? Screen time. And what do I have to back this up? Well, we know their relationship is good because Vanessa did a Q&A on her Instagram several weeks ago that said this: Tabitha is my sister in crime. I love her. She is the one that gave birth to Envy. I educated her. Tabitha is the best. And in fact, I think what they've done is actually kind of brilliant. They've created a safe space through which they can discuss this tough topic and hopefully break down negative stereotypes. I predict that within a couple of episodes, Tabitha will get to show her growth, realizing that trans queens don't have an unfair unfair advantage, and at the same time, Vanessa gets to share her story about being a trans woman doing drag. But that's just my little conspiracy theory. Let me know what y'all are thinking about all of this down in the comments below. Now, let's break down the rest of this episode top and bottom style. Top and bottom style. My top 3 hottest entrance looks go to Keta Minaj, who's giving me spooky Pirates of the Caribbean demented clown sea witch realness. Vivaldi, who is, I think, giving a nod here to Crystal Method's reveal look back from season 12. And Vanessa von Cartier. It's very like latex Chanel Tricks, who works as a flight attendant on the flight straight to hell. And my rots go to Tabitha, Reggy B, and Juicy Kouture. And concerning that talent show, I will say it seemed a little bit rushed, like maybe everyone didn't have quite enough time to practice their talents, but I did enjoy it overall because we got to see a huge diverse array of talents and learn a little bit more about each of these queens. My hottest 3 performances are from Love Masisi, who sang an original song. I think her stage presence was one of the best among the entire cast, and the song itself was beautiful. And my little Puny, who did like a choreographed pole routine, and Keta Minaj, who did a magic dancing choreographed routine. My least favorite talents came from Tabitha, whose salsa dancing looked really fresh, like she just kind of felt uncomfortable on the stage, and Reggy B, who did like a bitch track number. The song itself didn't sound like it was produced very well, and the overall performance just fell really flat for me. And my least favorite of the whole bunch, Juicy Couture's. I will say her song actually sounded good, better than Reggy's in my opinion, but her stage presence was so lacking. And to her credit, it is because it was literally the first time she had ever performed. So yeah, she deserves credit for that and kudos to her, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if it's the first or 1,000th time you've performed. You're competing on RuPaul's Drag Race, and her performance just didn't hold up to what her drag sisters did that night. And finally, let's break down some of those runways. The runway category was Nightlife Extravaganza. My hottest 3 looks go to Keta Minaj, My Little Puny, and Vanessa von Cartier. And I have exactly 2 rots to hand out. The first goes to Tabitha, who is covered in breastises. She done already breasted hers. Girl, I don't know what is going on here. The second goes to Ivy-Elyse. And oh my god, this is
child,
one of the worst looks to ever curse the stage of RuPaul's Drag Race. And I do not say that lightly. Like, girl, what is going on here? She's giving me Super Mario Brothers little fire flower mixed with Pikmin wearing a diaper. And Keta Minaj ends up taking the win this episode. Surprise, surprise. She brought it every single time she was on the screen. Entrance, talent, and runway. She really is a Keta Minaj auteur of talent, I guess you could say. And our bottom 2 queens are Reggy B and Juicy Kouture, who honestly both put up one hell of a lip sync. I was like, oh, there we go, Miss Juicy. There's that fire and passion that we needed in your main talent show performance. She had it, she just didn't know how to show it until it was too late. And the judges end up keeping Reggy B here, which I think makes sense overall because she is more experienced in general, and Juicy just felt underwater before the competition even started. And if you want to catch my full reaction to this episode, you can watch that over on my Patreon at patreon.com/bussyqueen. That's my members only website where my patron family gets access to exclusive videos, early access to my main channel YouTube videos, access to the Bussy Queen Discord server, and more. And finally, as for my hottest in the talent show, I choose Keta Minaj. I also asked my patrons to vote for their hottest hot, and they've also chosen Keta Minaj. My hottest on the runway also goes to Keta Minaj, and my patrons voted for Vanessa von Cartier. As always, I want to say thank you for watching this video and give a special shout out to Pablo Beltran Salva, Barrett, and Toddy Polito, who've all just joined my Patreon at the tier. And Abel of Adams, Aiden Smith, Anna Miriam, Anthony, August Everywhere, B-Rolls, Bradley, Brett, Cameron, Kathy, Cherry Poppins, Christopher, Clem Moosdale, Darmisha, Delani, Deutsche Leather, Devin Cook, Dr. Martin, Evan, Flo, Fractalize, GJ Bearclaw, Got the Morbs, Jay, JJ Bailey, James, Jenny, Jesse, Johnny, Giovanni, Kevin, Kiki and John, Lisa Lang, Madam Muffy, Manos, Melinda Reeves, Millennial, Hissyfit, Nathan, Nuva Ringwald, Opa, Pasquale Nava, Poutine Levine, Randy Candy, Ron, Shannon, Shazzy, Sky, Sultan, Tammy, Tony, Travis, Tyler, Vendetta, and Bailey, who were all supporting me at my hottest tier. And Ali Al, Angel, Caroline, Cyrus, Alicia, Cody P, JB, Joseph, Josh, JP in Dallas, Laura, Nurse Luca, Matthew, Maxie Wow, Robert Reeves, Scooby Snacks, Sailor, Steven, Tom Jaco, Tom Young, and Triton, who were all supporting me at my Bussy Queen Collector tier. See y'all later. Love ya.